Hey, what's going on? What's going on? CoinOpTV subscribers, Robert Welcome here with another CoinOpTV live and interactive on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/CoinOpTV. You may already be there by now. I see some people jump in chat. Toy Movie Game Bros, Skylander Fan, Jurassic Park. That guy is Will and Chloe and a bunch of others. Today's a special episode. I haven't really talked much about Disney Infinity since we had sort of the cancellation in June, or at least, I think it might have been in May or something. But the last figure set that came out in June. It's been a little bit of a lull, but I did want to sort of pay some tribute and some love. And there's somebody actually that I wanted to have as a special guest on for a while, but because of our little caveat here. We're going to show a graphic box because he wants to remain anonymous. So there's nothing wrong with your screen or your picture or YouTube feed or anything like that. So let me introduce my man, Mr. InfiniteerAdventures. Woo! What up, guy?
Hey, how's it going? Thanks so much for having me on. How's everybody in the chat doing?
I hope they're doing well. They'll probably start giving you some quick shout outs and some loves in just a second. So what we did is we actually have a culmination of images from InfiniteerAdventures YouTube channel. He's been covering all the canceled Disney Infinity, what would have been figures with some concept art, including the premium figures as well as the regular basic size figures. And what we're going to do is we're going to discuss like his top 5 and also to throw in ones that I was really bummed never happened. I got my tissue standing by, so in case anybody needs to cry, we got that. What about you, InfiniteerAdventures? Can I call you like IA or anything for short? I feel like weird saying like your whole name there.
Yeah, anything works. IA works. I'm not really tied to a name. But I will say yes, definitely grab your tissues because it is still sad. I actually was watching old videos last night just from people playing through toy boxes and whatnot, and yeah, it's just a bummer that it's all kind of over now. And I think enough time has passed to where fans are starting to kind of come to grips with it. Unfortunately, being over.
Yes. It took me a while. It was good that we did have the Finding Dory playset. We can sort of play with that. In chat, Dr. Billy Boss says, can you do a Skylander version? Well, Skylanders doesn't have anything canceled that we know of yet, so we're going to stick to Disney Infinity and check those out. Knight's Edge says, hello, CoinOpTV and TV is in chat as well. And Vanessa, and I think I'm all caught up with the shout-outs. All right. Let's get started. I'm very excited. So, Infiniteer. I'll call you Infiniteer for short. So, let's start with number 5. And this is, we're going to lead up to the top 5, like, most anticipated figures that were canceled by Disney Infinity that we know of so far. And, of course, you have videos on your YouTube channel already for all these figures. And I pulled these images from your channel. So, what would you say, where are we going to kick things off with number 5?
All right, number 5. For me personally, my 5th most anticipated figure that will never be released, unfortunately, is going to be the Elsa premium figure. And the reason why I say Elsa is because she actually had a really cool design from one of the short films that was played before a Disney film, and I really liked the green dress. And I just think with the premium figures, unlike the standard figures of their counterparts, these would have lit up, right? And so these would have had different animations in game. That's what we know of. And we also know that the figures themselves were much larger than the regular figures, but they lit up, and I thought that was something that was really cool. So I would have looked forward to seeing her dress kind of light up with some of the, the shimmering of the sparkles on her dress and whatnot, and I just think it would have been a really, really cool figure to use. Plus the addition of having another strong female character from the Disney lineup. Obviously, Frozen is just immensely popular in the world of Disney. And I thought she was a really cool character, just as, within the Frozen universe itself. So having that premium figure would have been my 5th most anticipated figure to look forward to.
Yeah, she is. I'm a big fan of Frozen musicals. Not every musical out there that I love, but Elsa and Anna definitely too. Yeah, she's got the Snowgie, I think, in her hand there.
Yes.
From Frozen Fever, Frozen Forever, the short film. Gosh, I should know this off the top. It's either Frozen Fever or Frozen Forever.
Yeah, I believe it's Frozen Fever. Yep, the
Yes, yes, which is very, very clever stuff there. So, yeah, definitely, I'm looking over at chat to see if anybody, yeah, okay, Flash Fan says it was called Frozen Fever, awesome, and Luke's Vlog says in chat they should have done a lot more from Toy Story. Well, we may talk more Toy Story soon or something, we'll see. So, with that, let's go to number 4. Who are you going to go with number 4?
All right, for number 4, the one that I really liked, this one really stood out to me, and luckily we actually got our hands on some footage of how it would have acted in game, at least a work in progress at that point, and that's the Jack Skellington premium figure. And the reason why I say this one was something that I really liked is I felt like with some of the 1.0 characters, and this was a criticism as they went on to the succeeding versions, was I really thought that 1.0's characters kind of fought a little similar. That included like someone like Buzz Lightyear and Jack. They kind of threw things as their attack. And with the new premium figure, with the footage that we saw a couple months ago, there was there was more to their fighting style in the game, and he was pulling out presents and Christmas lights and stuff like that. So looking at that footage and just knowing that, you would have probably had the pumpkins light up, because again, with the premium figures, the plan was they acted differently in game, and their figures themselves physically lit up when you place them on the base. So like Elsa and her dress, I was really looking forward to seeing like a Halloween-themed Jack Skellington figure with a new move set that really kind of rivaled his movie counterpart. I thought that was something that was really exciting and cool to see.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Nightmare Before Christmas. Jack Skellington is a cool character, and Zero. I wish we had a Zero figure if we're gonna add to the mix. So we got 2 premiums so far. Do we ever find out what the cost of those premiums were gonna be and the size? Since these were sort of unreleased and we were going by rumors and theories. Did we ever find out any of that information?
There was the Kotaku article that came out. Stated that they were going to be more expensive, and I think around $65-$75, and then also like 1 foot tall figures, 12 inches. I heard the opposite, actually. I heard that they were definitely larger than the regular figures. They weren't going to be as expensive as first reported, and they weren't going to be as big as first reported, because I always thought it was a little strange to think of a 12-inch figure that would fit on the base, right? So it was kind of weird to me to see how that would work, but they were definitely going to be larger. We don't know the exacts, obviously, now that the series has been canceled, but what we do know is that they were well into development, and some were actually complete or near complete at the time of the cancellation. So again, it's one of those things. It's kind of sad to think about. I thought the premium figures would have been a really nice addition to the Infinity lineup, especially for people who like to collect all these figures, right? So you had the people that really enjoyed the game, but then you had another kind of subset of people that really liked the collections. I still have all my figures over here near my desk, all lined up and stuff. But it would have been really cool to kind of get, again, that line of premium figures, especially if they animated differently in game like they showed us, and that we got our hands on some of the footage from some of the developers and artists that worked on them and put them in their reels and whatnot. But also, it would have just been cool to have something a little bit different for those collectors and people that really love these Disney characters.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like to have on my toy shelf in my studio, I have like a big BB-8 and Infinity Gauntlet. I like to have some bigger things that really sort of pop and show up on camera there on the toy shelf behind me. Before we get to number 3, let me give a couple more shout outs. We're live streaming. I'm watching you guys. We got Robert the Blastmine who says, "Get over Frozen. It's been 4 years." No way. I'm still watching West Side Story, which is like 50 years old. Stefan is in chat. We got Y-Rock has jumped in. Shout outs to you. Y-Rock and I are going to do a little chatty chat about Skylanders in the near future. So, stick around for that. Let's see. Ant TV in chat is asking, any Gravity Falls? Gosh, that's one of those ones since day one. A lot of people were asking for some Gravity Falls. Did you ever hear, InfiniteerAdventures, did you ever hear any rumors of Gravity Falls? Were those figures ever sort of, in the loop-de-loop?
Those were discussed. From everything that I have heard, and again, I've talked to different people, and some people have more, in the know kind of knowledge than others, of course. But from what I heard, there were no Gravity Falls in the plans, at least in the foreseeable future for what they were doing. A lot of it was based more, around a lot of the Marvel content that they were planning, Star Wars, with the Rogue One, some more classic Disney, some more Disney, some of the newer IPs, as opposed to going back to some of the older stuff. It's just a complicated business, right? Like, things have to sell for it to continue to grow. And some figures did more well than others. Like, I questioned the Yondu decision of producing a mass production of Yondu figures. Probably not the most popular Guardians of the Galaxy figure during the 2.0 kind of era, but stuff like Guardians of the Galaxy and Spider-Man, those are more popular figures, but it just came down to what was going to sell and stuff, and I don't think they necessarily thought that Gravity Falls was going to be one of those IPs that was going to sell a lot. But that being said, I know it was immensely popular, and I would have personally loved to see it, because I would have eaten up any character they would have given me. I would have absolutely loved to play as, and that's what kind of made the Infinity franchise so special, was the attention to detail that a lot of other games kind of lack.
Yeah. I think, if you are a Gravity Falls fan, we did get some of the power discs that sort of unlocked some of the, the kitten fists and some of the skins and stuff like that. But, I think the thing is, like, when the Disney and the TV show, they probably knew that the end was near, and they need to sort of promote things that have a longevity in the future. And knowing that Gravity Falls was going to be coming to an end, it probably financially on paper didn't seem like a good fit to sort of promote. So who knows? There are I have seen some toys, not a lot of Gravity Falls toys, but I have seen, I don't know if they were imports or whatever, but I have seen some figures pop up at comic conventions and stuff like that. So if you're a toy collector, there are options. Let's see. FPS Scrub says Thanos playable character would have been nice. Oh, teased at the end of the Marvel Battlegrounds playset. Would have been nice to have Thanos there.
Yes, I agree with you. I love Thanos. Thanos is one of my personal favorite Marvel characters in all the Marvel lore. He's one of my favorite comic book characters. If you've ever read the Infinity Gauntlet series from Marvel, it's super dark, it's super great, and it's something that when they teased Thanos at the end of Battlegrounds, it was something that I was excited for, because I thought inevitably down the line we would see an MCU version of Thanos, as the the Infinity Wars movies are scheduled to come out in the future. So that was one I was actually really bummed about, because again, I think one of the most fun things about following Infinity during its day was what potential characters could come and what are they going to look like, what are they going to play like, what are they based off of, right? You have classics and then some of the newer kind of modern versions, like Alice, for example. It was really fun to kind of speculate and hope for certain characters, even if we did or did not get them. That was a lot of the fun behind Infinity.
Yes, definitely. I'm reading chat as we're going here. I see a lot of you guys have like questions, concerns, things like that. Everybody seems to be behaving, which is great. But let's move on. Let's get to number 3 there, right? We got a couple premium figures. What do you got for number 3?
All right, number 3 for me was one that actually it was one of the first exclusives I got my hands on, and that's Doctor Strange. So I wasn't a big Doctor Strange fan personally in the comic book. I'm not super excited for the film necessarily, and I'm a huge Marvel fanboy, so let me throw that out there. But the more I see what Marvel's doing with it, the more excited I'm getting. And one of the things I really liked about what they did with Marvel was they were bringing in the MCU versions and making figures based off the MCU versions, which again, immensely popular in mainstream media, right, and mainstream culture. So as these MCU films and this story is expanding, I really liked what they did with Doctor Strange, and basing it off the actor, was really cool. And it just showed that they were starting to turn the corner on what fans were asking for a lot more, as we started to see some of these plans that they had for the future of Infinity post cancellation. We started to learn that they were actually doing a lot of things that fans were asking for. So seeing the Doctor Strange figure, knowing how, well, pun intended, strange the movie's going to be and his character actually is in the comic book lore, he was one that I was really excited about playing as inside Disney Infinity, because again, Disney Infinity, for all the things that it did right, the best thing in my opinion was the attention to detail and looking at the source material and really paying close attention to that, and then implementing things around that made these characters feel so genuine and so unique. That was one of the things that I really like. So a Doctor Strange figure, which picked up a ton of attention in the media when I went out with the images of it. It's something that I would have really loved to get my hands on and play as inside Infinity.
Yeah, Doctor Strange, especially with the movie coming out later this year, would have been a good tie-in. Toy Movie Game Bros in chat says, my 3 is Doctor Strange as well, so he agrees with you.
Nice.
Yeah, with Doctor Strange, he's always like kind of a side character for me in like the Defenders back in the day. And, I'll have to see when the movie comes out, if it sort of elevates his status as to, triple all-star superhero, or if he just kind of is this kind of obscure the second tier guy or something like that. It's funny in chat, a lot of people are asking about BFG and Kingdom Hearts, stuff like that. If this episode goes well, maybe we'll get InfiniteerAdventures back again for our top 5 figures that never were ever going to be released that we wanted to be released or something. We'll consider that as a topic, right? So moving on, let's get down to the nitty gritty. It's always hard to pick number 2 and number 1. What was your decision making going to this? Was there anything that you sort of factored into the equation?
I did actually for number 2. It's really hard to do top 5s, and it's funny because I just released a video after about a month sabbatical from my channel and just kind of taking a break from YouTube for a little bit there, grabbing my tissue box and coming to terms with the end of Disney Infinity. But I started to make this top 5 list, and when it came down to number 2 and 1, I had to think really hard about it. And number 2 for me personally is the Spider-Gwen figure. Spider-Gwen is a character who has gained a really big cult following behind. She's an amazing character. If you want to read up about her or read her comics, I won't spoil it for you, but it's really, really cool on how they made this character and how she kind of goes about herself and her relationship with Peter Parker and stuff like that in the comic lore. So if you haven't read the Spider-Gwen comics or you want to read up on her, definitely do so. She's amazing. Maybe better than Spider-Man, in my opinion, and I'm a huge Spider-Man fan. So the fact that they were going with something different outside of the MCU, I know I said earlier I'm really excited that they were bringing MCU characters in, but they're going somewhere different with a character who is new and who is exciting and who would have played really, really well, because if you ever played the 2.0 play sets or you ever got your hands on Spider-Man and played with him inside the toy box, it was really fun to use him. The web slinging, the kind of the high flying abilities that he had, and it was a lot of fun to use Spider-Man. So when you start to think about somebody like Spider-Gwen, not only are you going to get this amazing character, but you're also going to get a character who's going to be a lot of fun to play as in the toy box. And to add to this, I'm really excited that they were going to bring another strong female character into the mix. I think that was really important, and it seemed like they made an effort to really bring more female characters into it. You can see that I have 2 of them on my list out of 5 because I really enjoy expanding the audience with whatever you're doing in life, right? So whether it's bringing in more female characters into a game or stories or movies or TV shows, like I really enjoy that kind of thing. So Spider-Gwen, one of my personal favorite comic book characters ever. She was one that, again, I think a lot of people were. It really made a lot of people sad when I got my hands on some of the character art, because it was almost like no one was really thinking of Spider-Gwen, and here they were, thinking outside the box, bringing her into the fold. And these things take a long time to create. I think they said the average character is around like a year cycle of planning, designing, implementing, developing, getting out there, mass produced in boxes, right? Like it's a long time. It just doesn't happen overnight in this kind of toys to life industry. So it was cool to see that she was planned. And it's really tough to think about a top 5 list because she could easily go up as my personal number 1. And I'm sure a lot of people told me that, man, this was the one figure that I would have loved more than any other. So to be able to get a glance at her was really cool. And I heard that even in the pictures that I had, everything that you kind of see on these videos of some of these unreleased figures, always a work in progress, right? So it's not like these were the final. I heard that she had more graffiti on the chimney area, on the bricks that she was standing on, that they were going to add. Those weren't shown in the pictures that I had at the time. So it just shows you that they even had a deeper level of appreciation for the source material, and they were going to add to that with every figure.
Yes, I think the thing also with Spider-Gwen was, there was talk of, you brought up female figures, and a lot of people are like, oh, well, there's going to be a female figure, and, Avengers is really going crazy, so Scarlet Witch, that has to be, the next female figure that's going to be introduced, so that when you dropped news about Spider-Gwen or rumors or, details about her, it was kind of like almost this, well, wait, why didn't we think of Spider-Gwen? Because, yeah, she's kind of this underground cult sensation in comics and stuff, too, so it was interesting. I mean, it's a shame that, with female characters in comics and movies, there's always seems to be, like a limit or something, at the moment or something. Maybe if things will flip flop in the future and see, maybe there'll be a movie down the road where there's a male character trying to get into an all female cast of superheroes or something. He can't break in or something. We'll have to see. So
For sure, and I'm glad you brought up Scarlet Witch because that was one a lot of people asked me about. And I think there's a general consensus out there that it was legal issues, right, that prevented them from implementing someone like Scarlet Witch. And if you want to read more about that, there was a deal made, I think, back in the 90s between Fox and Marvel when Marvel almost went bankrupt, I think, was the story. And, they cut a deal with Fox, and legal deals are very complicated, especially when you're bringing them in with other IPs, and there's a lot of stuff that goes behind the scenes. It's actually a miracle that we got as much crossover with Disney, Pixar, Marvel, and Lucas, Star Wars that we did with Disney Infinity, because those things would have been complicated. But it would have been really tough for them without owning the rights to Scarlet Witch to sell her figure. And when you start selling merch plus adding them to a game, even though they own Marvel, there's a lot of legal complications there to bring in somebody like her or Quicksilver into the fold. So, that was one that a lot of people wanted. And again, you just think about somebody like that, Scarlet Witch, and you go, she would have played amazing in the game, the way that they built the game and the way that they paid attention to all the source material and detail. So yeah, that was one I was bummed about, but also understandable just from a legal standpoint, because there's a whole business side of this thing that a lot of fans probably don't understand. That's very complicated and tricky for sure.
Awesome. I'm checking in with chat. Some people are saying their browser is frozen, the stream is frozen. If you guys are late to the chat, whenever I cut to this gentleman here, InfiniteerAdventures, it's just a still graphic and his voice, because he would like to remain anonymous. But hey, look I'm over here moving around. Everything's fine on the stream, right? So, okay, with that, let me see. People are anticipating. They're trying to guess what your number one is going to be. The chat room, as somebody mentioned, Daredevil. Of course, I don't know if that qualifies. Somebody in chat says Avatar, Miss Marvel. They're all trying to guess what your number one is going to be. Would you like to reveal choice number one on your top 5 Disney Infinity canceled figures list?
Yes, but before I do that, let's address some of those characters. So Daredevil, one that was discussed. I know that was discussed with the team, but again, a little bit of a darker character, kind of tricky, like Jessica Jones, to bring into the fold. So, they were a family game first and foremost. So, that was tricky to get some of those darker characters into the fold. Same with Deadpool, right? Deadpool, obviously, owned by Fox, but it was one of those characters that a lot of people wanted. And again, they discussed it, but it's really hard to bring in a character, especially after the success of the movie, which was a darker film, and I personally loved it, but kind of hard to get somebody like that into Disney Infinity. But as far as my number one, if you've followed my channel and you've listened to kind of my personal favorites, this isn't going to come to a surprise to anyone, but my number one was actually the Toy Box artist pick for, they got to come in at the last Toy Box Summit, and they were going to pick a figure that they wanted to see implemented in the game. So they sat in a room and they debated with the developers and the marketers of Disney Infinity, and they came up with one character that they felt they really wanted to see in the game, and that was Peter Pan. And growing up, Peter Pan was my personal favorite character ever. Peter Pan was my favorite film ever. I just really clinged on to his character, and it was somebody that I really just grew up loving, and I always liked going on the ride when I went to Disneyland or Disney World, and I get my hands on any Peter Pan merchandise that I can personally, because he's my favorite character, and that's what Disney Infinity was really about, was kind of, you know, allowing people to play as their favorite characters in these universes. And to me, Peter Pan was the one that just made so much sense. Obviously they added Tinkerbell in 2.0. They had power discs that changed the toy box, the look and the feel of it to Neverland. They had another power disc that was the ride's actual, I don't know what you'd call it, but the flying ship that you sit in when you go on the ride at Disneyland. They had that power disc, so you could hop in that and fly it around as well. So they had these implementations of Peter Pan and some of the lore around him. But his character to me I was so thrilled when the toy box artist picked it. I was so on cloud nine because it was like, all right, one of my favorite games ever, one of my favorite characters ever. Too good to be true, right? Like, this can't be happening. This can't be real. And of course, he literally just missed the release date. Like, he was scheduled to come out shortly after they announced the closure of Disney Infinity. And that's kind of the saddest thing about him was so many fans were clamoring for more classic Disney. And so Peter Pan was obviously very classic, a very iconic character in the Disney history, and somebody that a lot of fans wanted to play as. And if you think about the fact that he flying was implemented in 2.0, and in 3.0, the new combat system that was implemented would have made a lot of sense with his dagger, and you could do things with his shadow, and you could do things with his his ability to change his voice. So there would have been a lot of things they could have done from a gameplay perspective that would have made him a really fun character to use in game. And the way that they were able to make these characters animate, whether it was classic Disney or Pixar or whatever, it was just, they did such a great job with it. So Peter Pan to me was my number one most anticipated figure for a long time, even as I started to learn about some of these exclusive characters that weren't discussed or didn't have the time to reach the public. He was always at the top of my personal list, and that's something that is obviously one of the saddest things about Infinity. I mean, first, obviously, the saddest thing about the closure is obviously the developers and the people that worked on the franchise, and it's good to see that they're scattered now and getting in different various areas of the industry. That's the number one thing. But for fans that love the series, the number two thing is obviously the characters that we'll never get. And, Peter Pan was right up there on my personal list.
Yes, definitely. I would probably put Peter Pan as number one too. We get a companion to Tinkerbell. It was voted in by the Disney Master. What was their name? The Master Builders or something? What do they call it?
The Toy Box Master Artists. So these are people that spent incredible. I mean, I don't know how they did it. I don't have the patience for it, right? Like, I built one toy box and I was really stoked about it, and that was Soarin' Over California. And that was one that I spent a month on every day working on. And I had talked to a lot of those guys and ladies that were building toy boxes, and it was crazy because the knowledge that they had, they were able to just go in there and do something that would take me probably a year to pull off. They were able to do in a week or two. And that was what was really cool too about the content, is you had constant content and a new toy boxes to play every single week. And that's something I definitely miss about Infinity as well. But yeah, they were the Toy Box Master Artists. These were some of the best people that had their toy boxes featured on the Top 5 show on ToyBoxTV, and just a really great group of people. If you ever had the chance to converse with them, they're really, really awesome. Yes. And talented.
yeah. Shout outs to Pirate Steve, Mighty Jitus, a handful of others I got to meet at the last Toy Box Summit. That's another thing that we won't have anymore, that little meeting up of the minds and developers and fans. So in chat, we got Dremet says they should have made Darkwing Duck and Roger Rabbit. Yes, those are a couple good choices. Lego Batman says, was Sora from Kingdom Hearts ever planned? We got the King Mickey Power Disc that would change your characters and give you some abilities for Sora in Kingdom Hearts, but as far as I know, I don't think they were going to do crossovers with that. Let's see. Let's give some. Can we just do a quick honorable mention here? We got to wrap up shortly, but Avatar is so these are all videos on the InfiniteerAdventures. We'll call these honorable mention. So we got Avatar. We got concept art. I guess we didn't get that far to get a figure for that, right?
Yeah, this was just basic concept art in case they ever wanted to go down that direction. So it wasn't like it was necessarily planned or on the schedule, but it was obviously brought up as a in a discussion at one point, and the artist went to work. Man, they had a lot of stuff planned that I can tell you that I haven't just talked about necessarily because I don't have that some of that art, but there was a lot of stuff planned, and sometimes it died right there in discussions, at least for the time being, or it got shelved. But there was a lot of stuff planned. But yeah, Avatar was one that was really exciting to get my hands on because that would have been really cool.
And of course, to infinity and beyond, Buzz Lightyear would have had a large-size premium figure flying up in the air. Looks like waterfalls behind him, sort of with the jet streams, but that would have been a fun one. And then another premium Darth Vader, large figure. I think that was when a lot of podcasts and stuff like that, they were like, that would be the one I get. Like, premium figures are too expensive, but if I had to get one, it would be Darth Vader. So probably one that, here's a concept art for Goofy. Of course, you know, a lot of people want those original Disney characters in there. You know, Goofy would have been a nice trifecta to the mix. We get, you know, Mickey and Minnie. Of course, if you were a Star Wars fan, Hera would have sort of completed that five. Let's see, I said trifecta. What's a word for five? What's the equivalent of a five? Five piece, five fecta.
Completing the rebels, right? Completing the rebels.
Yes. I shouldn't try and make. If there's one thing I should learn doing CoinOpTV for over 12 years, I shouldn't try to make things up on the spot during a live stream because you're just gonna get trolled in comments. How about Big Fig Hulk? That was an early one that you sort of discovered on your channel. Well, I shouldn't say Big Fig. That might be copyright to Lego, but the premium one. What's the story with Hulk? Wasn't that one of the ones where sales? I mean, Hulk was like originally a PS4, PS3 exclusive, and then it kind of came out, didn't really sell that great or something. Do you think the premium one would have sold well?
I mean, it's always tough to guess how they would have performed, and obviously the fatal mistake they made, one of them was overproducing these toys and kind of having an over-index available, which costs money for retail space. And if you're producing more figures than you're selling, that can be problematic. So I go back to the Yondu example, right? They made a lot of Yondus to keep it simple, and not a lot sold. So that's kind of the rumor, the story out there. But I think these premium figures would have done well, especially if they acted differently in game and they lit up. I think they were a cool concept as long as they kept them somewhat premium, somewhat exclusive, somewhat rare. You know, that was one of the things with Disney. You could always walk in anywhere and find an Infinity figure, but the Infinity premium figures, they were interesting to me, to say the least. I personally would have picked them up because I pick up everything with this franchise, but it would have been interesting to see how they performed.
Yeah, definitely. If especially like you say, if they were limited edition or had a little gold or silver hologram on them or something that kind of made them a little more on the collectible side, would have been nice. One more I want to mention, of course, we have Moana coming later this year, and this is of course grabbed from your YouTube channel, InfiniteerAdventures. Make sure you guys check out the full videos of all these. We'll try and send some viewers, some subscribers your way. So Moana, of course, would have been a great tie-in to the upcoming movie. Out of these two, we got Moana and Maui. Did you have a preference just looking at the concept stuff so far?
Oh yeah, and of course Kotaku was able to break the first look at like the playset screens and some of the figures. So seeing all this, and then seeing the trailers for the movie and the film that's about to be released shortly here, anything with The Rock is amazing, right? So like the fact that in the first trailer, and I said this in my video, he does the people's eyebrow. I would have loved the figure that I could have just done the people's eyebrow. That would have been like so insanely cool to me. So I can't wait to see the film. As we see more and more of it, it just looks more and more amazing. And the playset images really reminded me a lot of like Zelda Wind Waker, which is one of my personal favorite games of all time. So the fact that we got a glimpse of how great and gorgeous the playset, again, a work in progress, looked, was really cool as well. So, it's just one of those things, man. You have to buy a lot of tissue boxes if you were a diehard fan of this franchise.
All right, before we go, speaking of tissue boxes, I'm going to be sad to end this, but you want to give a little tease, a little idea what you got coming up down the wire after your vacation? You're going to come back strong on your YouTube channel?
Yeah. So I haven't really talked about this yet. So this is kind of some exclusives. But two things. So number one, I think I'm going to start doing some more retro gaming, some older Disney games, and I have a couple things planned. But I'm also looking, and this goes to your fans as well, CoinUp, because I've been watching your channel for years now, and I really love what you do over here. So I appreciate you having me on. But I think one of the things that I want to do is get more content creators to come on, and we have about almost 9,500 subscribers on the channel, and it grew a lot during Infinity, but I want to give other people a chance to kind of showcase their content creation on the channel and come up with series that are really engaging and fun to watch and stuff and family friendly. So that's one thing that I'm looking into. The other thing is alongside retro gaming and bringing more content creators into the channel is teasing some of that last content that I may or may not have when it comes to Disney Infinity. And I tweeted out a while ago, two of my favorites, we did a top 5 for what we know was coming down the pipeline. There is 2 more characters coming down that I can't necessarily release yet, but I'm waiting for Disney to officially unveil them out of respect, and obviously people know what they are. And I'll just give you a little hint. The trailer had more views than The Force Awakens, I believe, in the first 24 hours of the first week. So if you put 2 and 2 together, you can kind of figure that one out. Once they do officially unveil them, I will be releasing some concept art for these 2 figures that when I saw it, I really freaked out over, because it was something that would have been probably 2 of the most purchased characters and 2 of the most anticipated characters in Disney Infinity history, in my opinion. So that will be coming down the pipeline when the time is right. We'll be talking about those on the channel as well. So there's still a couple secrets in the Disney Infinity, room of secrets. And of course, if I can get my hands on some of the Rogue One content that was planned out there, I was not able to. But if any, former artists are out there, want to hit me up, I'd be glad to share it. But if not, at least we knew that some really great content was in the books. And if anything, I hope my channel just proves they really cared about the source material. They cared about creating this game like we cared about the characters and playing it. So again, just shout out to all the developers and former employees of Avalanche or Disney Interactive. They gave us a really great series for 3 years, and it's been really fun covering it. And as we move on into new things with my channel, I think Infinity will always be something that's kind of like at the heart and soul of my channel.
Yes, definitely. Shout outs to the developers and the team. And I know there's some new. You actually have a video talking about some of the developers moving over to some of the AR world. So some people in chat are asking me to show some more images. Well, guess what? You're going to have to go to the InfiniteerAdventures channel and subscribe and check out some of his videos to see some of the other characters that we didn't talk about and some of the other secrets and some of the things that's going to come up. So I will put all his links to his YouTube and his Twitter in the archive, in the description on the archive. Thanks a bunch, all you Disney Infinity collectors and Portal Masters and Lego fans and everybody else who jumped in. And thanks a bunch to InfiniteerAdventures. Great having you on the show. Maybe we'll get you back in a month talking about some more stuff.
Yeah, we'd love to do that. Thank you so much for having me on.
Awesome. Well, you guys have been great. Let me get out of here, and we'll see you guys probably tomorrow. Later.